Good morning. This is the time and place for the Planning Hearing Officer's hearings for August 28th, 2012. My name is Laura Stotler, and I will be conducting the hearings today as Planning Hearing Officer. We have 3 cases, and the relevant exhibits are posted on the panels located directly behind me. Under the provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30.42 of the Glendale Municipal Code, a conditional use permit shall be granted if 4 required findings are present. They are 1, that the proposed use will be consistent with the elements and objectives of the general plan. 2, that the hearing and its associated structures and facilities will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, the general welfare, or the environment. 3, that the use and facilities will not adversely affect or conflict with adjacent uses or impede the normal development of surrounding property. And 4, that adequate public and private facilities, including utilities, landscaping, parking spaces, and traffic circulation measures, are or will be provided for the proposed use. The cases today also include applications for the sales, serving, or consumption of alcoholic beverage. So there's an additional 5 criteria that have to be considered in making the findings. These are 1, that the census tract that there is a census tract with more than the recommended maximum concentration level of on-sale or off-sale uses as recommended by the California Department of Alcohol Beverage Control, that such use does not or will not tend to intensify or otherwise contribute to the adverse impacts on the surrounding area caused by such overconcentration. The second criteria is that crime reporting district location of the existing or proposed use with a crime rate which exceeds 20% of the city average for Part 1 crimes as reported by the Glendale Police Department. And then there needs to be a consideration that such use will not tend to encourage or intensify crime within the district. Third criteria is that the existing or proposed use does not or will not adversely impact any church, public or private school or college, daycare facility, public park, library, hospital, or residential use within the surrounding area. Fourth is that adequate parking and loading facilities are or will be provided for the existing or proposed use, or other reasonable alternatives will satisfy the transportation and parking needs of the existing or proposed use. And the 5th criteria is that notwithstanding the previous 4 criteria, the existing or proposed use does or will serve a public necessity or public convenience purpose for the area. If the evidence presented in the application and at this hearing meets the criteria just described, then the hearing officer can either approve or impose conditions for approval on the case in question. If the findings of fact are not evidence, then the request will be denied. Notification of this hearing was accomplished by the use of public notices, which were mailed to property owners located within 500 feet of the subject property, physically posted on the site in question, and placed in the local newspaper. So the 3 hearings will proceed as follows. First, I'll read a description of the application and or the request. I'll read the reports received from other departments and other letters or communications received from interested parties. The case planner will make a brief overview of the case, provide an analysis, and make a recommendation. The applicant will then be asked to come forward stating both name and address, and will be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time limit. And as part of presenting your case, you'll want to make sure to make all the findings that are required. Then others in support of and in opposition to the application and interested parties will be asked to come forward to speak, again, stating both name and address, and they'll have a 3-minute time limit. Lastly, the applicant will be given the opportunity to make closing comments if desired in response to testimonies given by preceding speakers within a 5-minute time limit. So if there's no speakers, then you won't be given a chance for rebuttal. The hearing will be closed and the case taken under submission, or the decision may be made at today's hearing. After the decision will be prepared. After the hearing, the decision will be prepared in writing, will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicants and to all persons who responded to the public notice, either by speaking at this meeting or who have submitted written at this hearing, or who have submitted written responses and provided their name and mailing address. The date of the decision will be the date that it appears on the letter. Under the appeals provision of Title 30, Chapter 30.62 of the Glendale Municipal Code, the decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the date on the letter. Anyone wishing to appeal may obtain forms and brochures on the procedures from the Building and Safety Permit Services section located on the same floor of this building. If you wish to speak, please write your name and address on one of the speaker's forms, which have been provided by the front door, and submit it to our assistant. And these forms look like this, the green ones. And I would also like to inform everyone that the official proceedings of the hearing are recorded on tape and are part of the public record. So for the first case, it's located at 825 West Glen Oaks Boulevard. Conditional use permit case number PCUP 1205583. The applicant is Brett Engstrom. Business name is Mission Wine and Spirits. The property owner is Lynn Wilson, and the case planner is Rather Duong. This is an application for a conditional use permit to allow the off-site sales, service, and consumption, and that includes on-site instructional tastings of beer, wine, and distilled spirits as an educational tool at an existing liquor store. The instructional tastings will be conducted in a designated area in the store, located at 825 West Glen Oaks Boulevard in the C21 Community Commercial Zone, Height District 1. Next, I'll go and see the comments that we've received from other departments. And we have comments from the police department that note that this is now in Census Tract 301-06, allowing for 5 on-sale and 3 off-sale liquor licenses. And there's currently 1 on-sale license and 5 off-sale licenses in the tract. And from Building and Safety, they just note that all permits will need to be obtained for standard conditions. And the fire department has standard conditions. They don't have any additional conditions to add to this project. Engineering has no comments. And that appears to be all the comments I have in the file regarding this project. I'd like to ask the planner to please provide a presentation.
Thank you. Good morning, Hearing Officer Stadler. The first items, as you mentioned before you today, is located 825 West Glen Oaks Boulevard, near the intersection of West Glen Oaks and Highland Avenue. The subject property is located within the C2 zone, Height District 1, and the applicant is proposing an approval of a conditional use permit to permit the off-site sales, service, and consumption, which essentially, in this case specifically, means the instructional tasting of alcoholic beverages at an existing liquor store. The tasting are intended to be educational in nature and will include beer, wine, and distilled spirits. As required by the Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control, ABC, these tastings will be conducted by the vendors or manufacturers of such products. Currently, Mission Wine and Spirits does not currently have a conditional use permit. This application was not required by the zoning code when this business was established in the 1960s. This business has a legal non-conforming status as a liquor store and may continue to operate as such as long as there are no changes or expansion to the facilities, or that there is no lapse in operation for more than 1 year. However, the request to conduct an instructional tasting is considered an expansion in service that does not exist currently. Therefore, a conditional use permit is now required. The subject site was developed in 1950 with a one-story multi-tenant building with surface parking to the west and to the rear. The site is surrounded by both commercial uses and residential development to the east and to the north. More commercial developments are located to the west and also across the street along Glen Oaks Boulevard. The adjoining use is a full-service restaurant, and other uses that are closest to this establishment includes a chiropractic office and a martial arts studio. As I stated, this site was developed in 1950 with surface parking. The site is accessible from Glen Oaks Boulevard as well as an alley at the rear of the property. While the subject site met code when it was developed, the property is now legal non-conforming in a number of areas such as setback, parking, and landscaping. However, this is common for many older buildings throughout the city since code changed over time. The required conditional use permit does not require the property to be brought up to the current code in these areas since no substantial physical work is proposed for the building. These nonconformities do not appear to be detrimental to the surrounding uses. And additionally, Mission Wine and Spirits and subsequent liquor stores have been operating at this location continuously for 52 years. And during that time, there has not been any any complaints or conflicts that have been reported with the adjoining uses and its neighbors. The request by Mission Wine and Spirits to incorporate instructional tasting reflects a growing trend to educate the general public about the different types and makes of alcoholic beverages. The emphasis continues to be the off-site sales of these beverages as the primary source of revenue because these tastings are essentially free of charge. The proposal to conduct educational tasting is considered ancillary and an added amenity to the off-site sales that the shop currently offers. So this is simply an enhancement to existing business. The business is currently licensed through ABC with a Type 21 license. ABC can also issue the holder of a Type 21 a Type 86, which is the required license to conduct on-site educational tasting. So Mission Wine and Spirits seeks to acquire Type 86, but is waiting for the resolution of the conditional use permit before that license is issued by ABC. The proposed instructional tasting of alcoholic beverages will not conflict or impede normal development of surrounding properties. As previously stated, the tasting sessions are intended to be an enhancement to the existing liquor store operation. And ABC would subject Mission Wine and Spirit to additional performance standards so that it would not impact other developments or zoning designation nearby. As you stated, the property is located in Census Tract number 3012.06, which has a suggested limit of 5 on-sale establishments and 3 off-sale establishments. There is currently 1 on-sale and 5 off-sale licenses in this tract. And as reported by the police department, the subject business is located in the census tract that is 8% below the citywide average of 78 crimes. Within the calendar year, only 1 service call was placed to the police department, which concerned a parking complaint. There are some public facilities nearby that includes Toll Middle School and Mark Keppel Elementary School, as well as Grandview Library, St. Peter Armenian Church, and Fremont Park. The closest facility are the 2 schools, which are located 0.3 miles away. However, the schools and the church and the library and as well as the park are located within a residential neighborhood. So the emphasis is to service residential development within the neighborhood and not along Glendale Boulevard. So given the findings surrounding the subject request, staff recommends approval of this application with 21 conditions. And if you like, I can go over them, or they're also included in the staff report.
Has the applicant received a copy of the conditions? Okay, thanks. Okay, I don't have any other questions for the staff.
And just to add, I did not receive any communications from the public, either via email, phone calls, or written communications.
Okay, good, yeah, because I didn't have any in the file either, so, all right. I'd like to call up the applicant, Brett Engstrom, please.
Good morning, hearing officer. Brett Engstrom, Art Rodriguez and Associates, here on behalf of Mission Wine and Spirits. Thank you for having me this morning, and I'd like to thank staff for a thorough and well-written report. I did see the conditions. They look reasonable to us. We would accept those as written. This has been an existing spirits and liquor store for over 50 years. They've been in operation in the neighborhood for that substantial amount of time. No particular issues with the neighborhood. They do have on-site parking. There will be no changes to the exterior of the building as a result of this application. It'll all be within the store itself. We would like to add on-site tasting with the recently developed ABC Type 86 license, which is specifically designed for tasting as opposed to the previous bar license we tried to fit into different operations. This is specifically to tasting, very restricted on hours, how you can operate with those tastings. It will most definitely be ancillary to the existing use. The license itself, the 86, must piggyback off of an existing retail license, so it cannot be held on its own. As far as the findings that I must make, maybe I'll start there.
Okay.
Proposed use is consistent with the various elements and objectives of the general plan. As the planner had stated, this is a commercial corridor looking to serve the nearby residential properties. This is a commercially zoned lot with a commercial building that has been in operation for over 50 years. It does serve the general plan by offering goods and services to the local area without negatively affecting those residential properties. As far as the use and its associated structures and facilities not being detrimental to public health, safety, or welfare, it's an existing building, as we said, back to the 50 years. There will be no exterior changes to the building. Everything will be held within the walls. On-site parking has been there for some time with no detrimental effects to the neighborhood, no particular complaints. As far as finding C, that the use and facilities will not adversely affect conflicting adjacent uses or impede normal development, this is a commercial corridor. At least for this portion of Glen Oaks, it is intended to offer retail businesses such as a wine and spirit shop or any other of the retail uses that are there. So as such, there will be no change from the existing use. Our application is for ancillary tasting to go along with a retail shop. So they will not detrimentally, I hate that word, affect the surrounding area. We'll go on to finding D. Adequate public and private facilities, I had another coffee, facilities, utilities and landscaping and such. Existing property, on-site parking, 25 spaces. There will be no exterior changes. It is a legal non-conforming use as is. We will not be touching anything on the exterior of the building. As such, it should make this finding. Should I jump over to alcohol?
Yes, please.
Okay, we'll just keep it rolling
And
along.
if you'd also describe how your use is actually going to work within the building.
Certainly. Why don't I start there, and then I'll go through the findings. The 86 requires that there be a roped-off area for the tastings, as opposed to the previous 42, which was actually a little bar inside of a retail shop where it had to have permanent closures. This can be set up with ropes and temporary separating devices because the tastings won't be happening all the time. Strict hours from the ABC, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. So they will be removed when tastings aren't being operated. It's a reasonably small area for the size of the store. It's not meant to be a bar consumption. It is simply for tastings. Maybe I can jump over to the findings and then answer any questions at the end.
Okay.
Okay. If the existing on-site or off-site is located within a census tract, recommended with over-concentration, how will we not intensify this? While technically this is a new license being brought into the area, this license cannot stand on its own. It must be operated in addition to an existing retail license. The retail license count will not change as a result of this application. It's simply an 86 ancillary license. So we don't feel it will realistically affect that license count too bad. Existing use is in a crime reporting district. As the planner stated, I believe the crime reporting district has a lower average as compared to the rest of the city. And this in tune with the police department's no objection to this application, I believe we are safe as far as crime reporting is considered. Not impact nearby churches, public or private schools. Again, as the planner did state, the nearest sensitive uses are a third of a mile away. They are outside the range of what we normally look at for as far as considering sensitive uses and how we may affect them. However, we are on a commercial strip. All operations will be held within the property, within the building. They will not bleed out. We do not allow people to drink on adjacent properties. And this is an experienced retail shop owner. He has multiple locations and runs a very, very tight ship. Let's see, adequate parking and loading facilities, existing commercial property, access from both the commercial corridor Glen Oaks and the alley from behind, 25 on-site spaces. Even from all the photos we've seen, the parking lot is generally not even close to full. It's a busy store, but not that busy. Plenty of room for loading and on-site parking, which should keep patrons from parking in nearby residential areas.
Okay.
And also, notwithstanding conditions findings 1 through 4, this is an existing operation, has been a liquor store for 50 years. As a result of this application, nothing on the exterior will change. There will be a small ancillary use added to the interior of the operation just to simply benefit that existing operation. So we believe it is a reasonable request in this area.
Okay. Are you planning to have fixed seating at all in that roped-off area, or when
No fixed seating.
Will there be seating when you have an event?
No, there's not supposed to be any seating because this is a transitional operation. It won't be permanent. It will be removed when not in use, and it's very defined how they may operate per that 86 license. So they don't want to. The operator himself can't offer the alcohol. It's got to come from an outside source, as the planner stated. Definitely a transitional operation. Won't be there all the time, so no fixed seating, no tables and chairs.
And you'll have an authorized licensee at any time?
Right. We'll have to. That's required.
Okay. Just making sure you're following what the rules.
Right. That's wonderful.
Okay. And the only other question I had was about the sign. I believe you have a sign. Would that be, there was a condition previously, I believe, or a condition that was added?
I
just
saw
wanna
that
make
last
sure
one,
that we-
21.
Yes.
Right.
Do I read that correctly, that once upon changing the face of the sign, so as soon as they touch that sign, they will need to bring everything up to code?
Correct. And I believe the sign face has been changed.
Ah, good catch. I wasn't aware of that fact, and that will have to be addressed with the owner. But if it is in the conditions, we'll abide by it.
Okay, well, it will be in the conditions. I just want to make sure you're aware. Okay.
Gosh, I've read that, yes.
All right. I have no further questions. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I appreciate the staff report and your time this morning.
Okay, thanks. I see other people in the audience. I have no more cards for this item. Would anybody like to submit a card to speak? Seeing none, then I will take this item under submission and render a decision. Okay, for the next item, we have, next item is conditional use permit PCUP 1216843 at 620 San Fernando Road. The applicant is Zorik Yagikian and Will Neves. Business owner is Cafe Corner Bistro. Property owner is Shahik Mardaras. The case planner is Kathy Duarte. This is an application for a conditional use permit to allow on-site beer and wine sales, service, and consumption at an existing full-service restaurant located at 6720 San Fernando Road in the industrial, commercial, residential, mixed-use zone. do have a few comments that we've received on the proposal. I know I received a phone call this morning from a neighbor. It was a neighbor at 1011 and a half Irving Avenue, lives across from the place, noted that the place is problematic, it's loud, they disturb the neighbors, there's cars in the alley, they're open late at night and cars make a noise, so there's accidents that have increased from business in the area, and they oppose the permit for alcohol. They feel an expansion of the use would only exacerbate existing problems. They also note there's trash in the alley that hasn't been picked up by this business. We also have comments. Thank you. We also have comments regarding hours of operation from the police department. They recommend nothing be open past 2 a.m., and that's for reasons of enforcement. We also have an email we've received from a resident at 1030 Irving Avenue. They noticed that they protest the conditional use permit. They believe the restaurant does not have adequate parking in their lot. The restaurant has no available. There's no available parking on Irving Avenue, so that impacts the residents in the area. You see, they're concerned with that Irving Avenue is narrow and adding more people will cause a problem. And they think there will also be a probability of increased fights due to consumption of alcohol. And they've also noted that there have been traffic accidents on Irving. From the police department, we do have several comments from them. Are you going to go over the police department comments, or would you like me to read them? Okay. We have comments from the police department that note that Cafe Corner Bistro is located in Census Tract 3116.01, which allows 5 on-sale establishments, and there's currently 5 on-sale licenses in this tract. Based on Part 1 crime statistics for Census Tract 316.01 in 2011, there are 171 crimes, 171% above the citywide average of 63. They noted within the last calendar year there were 3 calls for police services at this location. One was a noise complaint. There's also a 415 group that did not result in a report taken. And they noted that there was a violation of people smoking on the patio. And so the officers responded to the call and did not take a report on that one. It says, and they also noted that the location does not have an active or pending ABC license per the ABC website. And the police just noted that at all times when the premises is open for business, service of any alcoholic beverage shall be made only in area designated with an ABC license. Consumption of alcoholic beverages will only be on those same licensed areas. They recommended hours be no later than 2 a.m., although they also note that it's up to the planning hearing officer to make that decision. And then there's just standard ABC license and comments. They can't have video machines upon the premises. Dancing is only allowed in the premises on designated dance floors. Live entertainment is restricted. Music or noise shall be contained within the establishment, and the business shall comply with all smoking laws, noise laws, and disturbing of the peace. Front and back doors shall be kept closed at all times while the location is open, except in cases of emergency. And the sale of beer, wine, or distilled spirits for consumption off premises is strictly prohibited. There's a note from the fire department that there are outstanding inspection violations. They've noted that there's a need to obtain an assembly permit, an industrial waste permit, install panic hardware on the rear door. There's a service kitchen hood required. Service of the kitchen hood is required. Service of the fire extinguisher, and drapes need to be flame retardant certified. There's notations from Community Development Neighborhood Services Division. They need to comply with the fresh air ordinance and properly designated smoking permitted area and post a plan prominently by the cashier area of where smoking is permitted. Need to remove the storage shed, secure permits for all signs, and restore the fence to the proper height and obtain an approval from the Planning Division for fascia on the wire fence. And they've also noted that service of alcoholic beverages needs to be performed in accordance with the ABC license. That appears to be all of the comments that we have on this item. I would like to ask the case planner to please provide a presentation.
Thank you, Hearing Officer Stotler. I'm Kathy Duarte, planner. As noted, the applicant is proposing a conditional use permit to allow the on-site sales, service, and consumption of beer and wine at the existing full-service restaurant with outdoor dining. The property is located at the northeast corner of San Fernando Road and Irving Avenue. It is in the IMU Industrial Mixed Use Zone. This building was originally built as a Denny's coffee shop in 1961 and has operated as a restaurant since then. It currently operates as a full-service restaurant, the corner Bistro Cafe, with incidental hookah use and outdoor seating on the south, west, and north sides of the building. The applicant states that the hours of operation are 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. daily, with hours of alcohol service proposed to be the same. And the applicant is also proposing to operate the restaurant in the existing manner. The sales, service, and consumption of alcoholic beverages were first granted by conditional use permit number 9599-CU in November of 1996, which expired on November 30th, 2001. So there has not been a CUP for alcohol since then. This property is adjacent to multi-dwelling units, a motel, and commercial uses. As noted from Ms. Stotler, the comments from the other departments, comments were submitted by the police department, the neighborhood services department, and fire engineering. And we did also receive comments from adjacent residents stating concerns of noise and recent car accidents. Staff recommends approving these conditional use permit requests with requirements and conditions, in particular those that protect the adjacent multi-dwelling residential uses. I believe that the applicant is in support of most of the conditions except for the hours of operation, which he may want to address.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. And I only have one card for this item, so if there's other people who wish to speak, you may want to submit a card. The card I have is from Will Neves. Will you please come up and describe your project and the findings?
Yes, good morning. My name is Will Nieves. My address is 21250 Hawthorne Boulevard, Suite 700, Torrance, California, 90503. I've read the staff report, and I've been in conversations with Ms. Duarte, and we are in accord with the majority of the conditions except for one, which relates to the hours, but I'll get into that a little bit later.
Okay.
Just wanted to go over some of the other presentation items that I'd like to make first. As stated by Ms. Duarte, this restaurant has been a Denny's since 1961 when it was originally established. Denny's is a 24-hour operation, so this particular property has had a 24-hour operation for quite some time. A liquor license was first approved at this location in 1995 under CUP 9599CU. It was for a restaurant called Cafe Ginani. In 1999, it switched and transferred to a gentleman had an operation by Sam's Cafe. And then in 2000, a year later, it became an El Burrito Loco location. So I would say that since 1996, it has changed quite significantly in regards to the type of operation that's been there, evidenced by the fact that they haven't been there very long, that there has been a lot of turnover in restaurant activity and operators at the location. Zurich, the new owner there at the property, has taken it over, has substantially renovated it. It looks very attractive, very nice. It's a very alluring type of a use presently. There's 2 outdoor patios. One's a smoking patio, one's a non-smoking patio. They have an accessory hookah lounge, and it's a very neighborhood-oriented, walk-oriented type of a restaurant where people from the local community and businesses on San Fernando Road come and visit to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They do have late-night hours. They do have a large following of people to the restaurant. And from everything that I've been told, they've been a good operator. I also have a petition that was signed by restaurant patrons, over 200. Did I do this?
Yes, that was fine.
By over 200
Thanks.
people that have patronized the establishment. I also have 17 letters of support from adjoining neighbors and tenants surrounding the restaurant who are also in support of the project. So, as established by the previous CUP, there has been beer and wine on the property. I'm not privy to the actual hours of operation, but from what I understand, they did have service until 2 o'clock in the morning. In regards to the police service calls on the property, I understand that there were only 3 within the last year. That is a relatively minor amount of service calls, in light of the fact that one of them was for a smoking violation, another one was for noise, and I think a third one, I'm not sure what that 415 code was.
Disturbing the peace.
Oh, disturbing the peace, thank you. One of the problems that we have at this location is that it's adjacent to a motel. There's a lot of activity occurring at the motel next door, so if someone sees any activity, I don't know if they're sure it's coming actually from the restaurant or if it's coming from the motel property itself. Also, in addition to that, San Fernando Road, as you know, is a very busy corridor. There are people commuting at all hours of the day and night. I've been told that any of the traffic problems that occur there are related to San Fernando Road and not to the business itself. We have had on the property at night from 7 p.m. to closing for quite some time now a security guard that is on the property, and that has considerably lessened and controlled any of the noise and activity that's occurring on the property. We'd like to volunteer that condition as a part of the conditions of operation for the establishment in exchange for possibly getting longer hours. As you know, a restaurant can be open 24 hours a day. They're not looking for that. However, they do want to be open till 3 o'clock at night every day. That's what their hours are presently. And they want to be able to have alcohol service until 2 o'clock at night. They are willing to modify that somewhat and go through some sort of a plan approval or some sort of director's review after 1 year to sort of fine-tune that condition, and we're open to that suggestion. But with the security guard in place and with the fact that we haven't had significant problems at the location, I think he has established a track record at the property that will allow him longer hours. And to be quite frank, 3 service calls in 1 year, I've had neighbors that had more service calls than that. Again, the security guard, I think, is very important to have, and if need be, we could have a second security guard, but we've been able to manage with 1 security guard at the present time. There are 29 parking spaces on site. It's a 2,392 square foot building. It got a building permit for that. The number of parking spaces are adequate for the site. Since a lot of people are from the community, a lot of people walk from the adjoining multifamily zoned area. It has been consistent with the general plan in light of the fact that it's been there for 51 years and that there have been previous CUPs approval for beer and wine on the property. It's not detrimental to the public due to the fact that the CUP was previously issued. There are going to be conditions imposed on the property to ensure that it's not a negative aspect to the community and that there are no problems or potential problems that will come forward through the issuance of this approval. It hasn't adversely affected the surrounding property in light of the fact that it's a mixed-use type of industrial residential zone, which is quite unique, being that there are industrial uses in the area. Again, with the security guard and the on-site management, and the fact that also we're willing to shut down one of the patios at night so we could help with the outside noise, and I think that was one of the concerns that one of the neighbors had. But a security guard on the property really does a good job of lessening any of those potential impacts. Moving on to sensitive uses, there are no churches, schools, parks, or playgrounds in the area, but we are aware that there are residences behind. That's why we self-impose a number of volunteered conditions that are in the file, and in addition to that, we've also self-imposed a security guard on the property as well. This establishment has operated without any of these volunteered conditions. Previously, under the CUP that was issued in 1995, they had no security guard. They didn't operate with some of the restrictions that we're operating with, so we're going over and above and beyond what was previously conditioned for the property. This beer and wine does serve a public convenience to patrons and the community in light of the fact that it's heavily patronized. There is a ongoing clique of people that come for lunch and dinner and for breakfast at the site. I've been there myself, and personally it's one of the better breakfasts I've had. I advise you to go and try it out yourself. It's quite good. The owners are sensitive to the complaints in the neighborhood. That's why they went out and canvassed the community and got some support from adjoining residents and tenants in the area, and they had a petition signed. They are willing to work with the city and the police department to further reduce any potential problems that may occur at the site. But from what we've self-imposed and what we volunteered with the security guard, I think there's not going to be any problem with that. There were concerns expressed by the fire department. And, before I get on to the fire department, I do have a contract for the security guard that I can provide you.
Sure.
And a certificate of insurance that
Okay.
shows that we have a security guard there. How long has the security guard been on the property? How long ago? It's been 4 or 5 months now.
Okay.
In addition to that, we've also completed some of the other conditions that were required by the fire department. We've already purchased the panic hardware for the door. The service kitchen has been taken care of. The fire extinguisher and the fire retardant certificates have been approved, and we'll provide you with those as well.
Okay. You have a copy of your own, right? Making sure this is just a copy. This
He
is
doesn't
an
have a
original.
copy of the one underneath.
Okay, then we'll need to make a photocopy for you.
All right.
Here, you can keep this, and
Should I give it to
we'll
you?
make a copy of it before the end. I just need to have, if you give it to me, I need to keep it in the file. So we'll make a copy. Make sure you have one.
Okay, so in regards to those items, I think we've established the burden of proof in regards to the 4 findings for the conditional use. In regards to the alcohol findings, the overconcentration issue, we are above by 1. However, this was an establishment that previously had beer and wine on the site. With the previously approved conditions that showed a track record for the property, insignificant violations that have occurred, and low service calls, and the fact that we're self-volunteering conditions, and the city is imposing additional corrective conditions, this mitigates the overconcentration issue. In regards to the crime rate, the security guard should suffice in regards to the crime rate. A lot of the crimes that occur in the property have not been related to DUIs or any sort of situation in the area. I think they're probably breaking and entering and minor theft crimes that occur probably from the motel or some of the other uses. This street is a very heavily traveled industrial street, so a lot of businesses are closed at night, so I would think that a lot of them relate to those kinds of activities. The parking and loading is adequate in light of the fact that a building permit was issued for the property, and neighborhood services and building and safety have stated that this property is in compliance with the development code and the building code. And finally, this does serve a public convenience in light of the fact that there was a previously approved CUP on the property, there were previously approved ABC licenses issued, and the fact that the restaurant has had better days in the past attests to the fact that the restaurant can't operate here without that amenity. I think those are all the comments that I have. If you have any questions, I can answer them.
Yeah, what are you doing in terms of crime to make that area safer? It looks like we have some comments from residents. If you have a security guard, is the security guard actually outside? Are they in the restaurant? How is that working?
Well, the way the security guard works is, by law, he's only required to patrol the premises, the exterior sidewalk around the premises, and the interior of the premises as well.
Is he in your parking lot?
Yes, he's
Making
in
sure
the
that-
parking lot as
Okay.
well. Again, one of the problems that we have is that there is a motel right next door with outside parking.
I've seen
and it has had problems in the past because it is a transient type of a one-day occupancy type of a motel, and we can't control any activities that are occurring there, but we can do the best we can to eliminate them from parking in our lot and coming to our property and doing things that they're not supposed to be doing. A second security guard could help, but with the hours that we're proposing, it doesn't make sense to pay for a second security guard. I think one can suffice. We can work in concert with the police department if there's other issues. There have been people that have come over from the motel and parked in our property, and we've called the police on those people. So that has been lessening some of the parking impacts in the area and the noise. But we feel that this operation has not caused a major concern. If it had, there would be more people present here in the audience, and there would be more protests being issued. They are on site all the time. They're there at night. They're presently operating till 3 a.m. in the morning every day, so it's not like we're asking for something in addition to what's presently being operated. And the 3 a.m. closure has worked fine with the security guard. I do understand that with the addition of beer and wine, there is the possibility that there could be an increase in activity and people conversing and talking loudly. But I think with the security guard and the imposition of conditions, that shouldn't be a problem. We could do a one-year review to review what's happening at the site and maybe tweak the conditions later if that's something that the city will do, and we would be open to that.
Okay. Any other comments to add, or?
I think that's it.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Last chance. I see other people in the audience. If anybody else would like to speak on this item, should please submit a card. Seeing none, I will take this item under submission. Thank you. And then also, I would like to get a copy of the fire department. We can make a copy for you after the meeting, just so I have it in the file. Thanks. And the last case for today is conditional use permit, case number PCUP 1217179. Applicant is Comnas Arvantes, and the business name is Mr. K's Pizza. Property owner is William Velasco. Case planner is Kathy Duarte. This is an application for conditional use permit, a renewal, to allow on-site beer and wine sales, service, and consumption at an existing fast food restaurant, Mr. K's Pizza, located at 1504 West Glen Oaks Boulevard in the C21 Community Commercial Zone, High District 1. And from what I see in the file, it doesn't look like we have any comments on this project. All right, I'd like to have the case planner do a presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Hearing Officer Stotler. As noted, The applicant is proposing to renew a conditional use permit to allow the on-site sales, service, and consumption of beer and wine at an existing fast food restaurant, which is Mr. K's Pizza, located in the C21 Community Commercial Zone. Let's see. The existing restaurant is part of a corner commercial shopping center, which also contains a grocery store and donut shop. It has operated as a restaurant since 1980. The sale, service, and consumption of alcoholic beverages were first granted by conditional use permit number 6931-CU in February of 1980, with 6 conditional use permits granted since then. The applicant is requesting to operate the restaurant in the same manner as previously approved. And as noted, comments and comments were suggested, received by Neighborhood Services, although other departments did not submit comments. And staff believes that the findings for the conditional use permit can be made and recommend that the request be granted. Okay.
I would like to.
It's a Greek name, so it's a little bit hard to.
Sorry, I got it.
Good morning. My name is Komna Sarvanidis, and I live in 514 Northeast in Glendale, California. I've been the owner of the Mr. K's Pizza the last 27 years plus the first 2 years. Actually, it's almost 28, 29 years. So we never have any problems in the area. So I'm surprised I don't have no comments from police, because police usually they do some comments. I'm serving the police. I have a lot of customers from the police department, and I have some of the customers from Disney and around the area, you know. But we never have no problems in the area. All those years I'm there, we never have no claims, no nothing in the area. So the hours we use, it's like between 11 to 10, and it's only Monday through Saturday. We'll close on Sundays. And we don't have no music or things like this. We're not like a sport bar or something, you know. We just, you know, serve beer and wine for customers that come just to eat in there, and that's it.
Okay. Did you take a look at the conditions of approval?
Yes?
Do you agree with those, or do you have any concerns with those, or?
I don't have any concerns, no. We always give us, you know, City of Glendale, whoever gives the approval, you know, they always give us that the last 32 years we've been there.
Okay. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No.
No? All right. I see other people in the audience. Would anybody else like to comment on this proposal? No? I don't see anybody else providing comments. Therefore, I intend to approve this project as submitted and provided in the staff report with the conditions included in the staff report. And I will render a decision letter today on this item. And with that, I don't see any other cases on the agenda, and I will close this public hearing.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks.